My name is Amber Hayes, I'm 27 years old, and I heard my sister plan my murder while I lay helpless in a hospital bed. The worst part? I was conscious the entire time, trapped in my own body, unable to scream, move, or fight back as Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell plotted to finish me off for my inheritance. They thought I couldn't hear them, but I heard everything. Every single word. Before I share how I survived their deadly scheme, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this nightmare ends. Before I found myself locked in a coma, I had what most would consider a picture-perfect life. I'd built a successful career as a photographer, specializing in wildlife and nature photography. My work had been featured in National Geographic twice, and I had just signed a contract for my first solo exhibition at a prestigious gallery in Manhattan. Photography wasn't just my profession. It was my passion, my escape, the way I made sense of the world around me. My apartment in Seattle overlooked the Puget Sound, and on clear days, I could see all the way to the Olympic Mountains. I'd worked hard for everything I had, saving every penny from freelance gigs until I could afford the down payment. My parents had offered to help, but I'd refused. I wanted to make it on my own terms. Speaking of my parents, Thomas and Laura Hayes had been the epitome of a power couple. Dad ran a successful real estate development company, while Mom was a former corporate attorney who quit the rat race to start a nonprofit focused on environmental conservation. They were brilliant, driven, and most importantly, loving. They raised Stephanie and me to believe we could achieve anything with enough determination. Stephanie and I were only 2 years apart. She was 29 to my 27, but sometimes it felt like we existed in completely different worlds. Growing up, we were close in the way siblings often are when they have no choice but to share space and parents. We had our inside jokes and fond memories of family vacations, but there was always an undercurrent of competition. Stephanie was the artistic one, a painter with undeniable talent but questionable business sense. She'd opened an art gallery 3 years ago, showcasing local artists alongside her own work. The venture had been struggling from the start. The location wasn't ideal, her prices were too high for the neighborhood, and she refused to compromise her artistic vision to attract more customers. Art shouldn't pander to commercial tastes, she'd say whenever I gently suggested featuring more accessible pieces. If people don't understand the value, that's their problem, not mine. Despite her attitude, I wanted her to succeed. That's what sisters do, right? Support each other? So when she came to me 6 months ago, practically in tears over the gallery's impending closure, I agreed to loan her $50,000 to keep it afloat. It was a significant chunk of my savings, but family is family. Then our parents died. It was sudden, a rainy night, a winding mountain road, a driver who crossed the center line. One moment they were alive, heading home from their anniversary dinner, and the next they were gone. The grief hit me like a physical blow. For weeks, I could barely function, barely breathe. Stephanie handled it differently. She was stoic at the funeral, efficiently managing arrangements and greeting mourners with a composure I couldn't muster. I mistook her calm for strength, but in retrospect, I should have recognized it for what it was: calculation. 2 weeks after the funeral, we met with our parents' attorney, Mr. Garrison. I expected a straightforward inheritance. Perhaps the family home would be sold and the assets divided equally between us. What I didn't expect was the size of the estate. My parents had been successful, yes, but I had no idea they'd accumulated a fortune of nearly $12 million. Your parents were excellent investors, Mr. Garrison explained as Stephanie and I sat in shocked silence. And they were very specific about how they wanted their assets distributed. The terms of the will were clear. Stephanie and I would inherit equally, but with conditions. The money would be held in a trust for 2 years, during which time we would need to jointly manage the estate. Major financial decisions required both our signatures. After the 2-year period, we could divide the assets however we saw fit. They wanted to ensure you would work together, Mr. Garrison said, and hopefully strengthen your relationship as sisters in the process. Stephanie's smile didn't reach her eyes. How thoughtful of them. The complications didn't end there. Around the same time, my boyfriend Ryan proposed. Ryan Mitchell was everything I could want in a partner: kind, supportive, ambitious without being cutthroat. We'd been together for 3 years, and I didn't hesitate to say yes. What I'd forgotten, or perhaps subconsciously suppressed, was that Ryan and Stephanie had briefly dated before he and I got together. It was nothing serious, just a few dates that fizzled out naturally. At least, that's what Ryan had told me, and I had no reason to doubt him. But the look on Stephanie's face when I showed her my engagement ring suggested a different story. "Congratulations," she said flatly. "You two deserve each other." I brushed off her reaction as wedding jitters or perhaps a flare-up of her typical dramatics. Instead, I focused on being a supportive sister. When Stephanie came to me again about the gallery, explaining that she needed an additional investment to showcase a promising new artist, I agreed to help. This time, I offered to use part of my inheritance, once we had access to it. 2 years is too long to wait, Stephanie argued. The opportunity will be gone by then. I can't just give you the money, I explained. The will is clear, we need to agree on major expenditures, and the trust administrator has to approve them. It's my money too, she insisted. Why should I have to beg for what's rightfully mine? The argument escalated. Stephanie accused me of always being our parents' favorite, of having everything come easily to me while she struggled. She brought up Ryan, implying that I had stolen him from her. By the end, she was practically shaking with rage. "You've always had everything handed to you," she spat. "The perfect career, the perfect apartment, the perfect fiancé. Now you have the perfect control over my financial future too." "That's not fair," I countered. "I've worked hard for everything I have. And I'm not trying to control you. These are our parents' wishes, not mine." We parted on terrible terms that night. I remembered driving home in a torrential downpour, tears blurring my vision as I replayed our argument. The rain lashed against my windshield, and the wipers struggled to keep up. I was approaching the Aurora Bridge when it happened. My brakes failed. One moment I was slowing for a curve, and the next, my foot was pressing a pedal that went straight to the floor. I pumped frantically, trying to regain control as my car picked up speed. I yanked the emergency brake, but it was too late. My car crashed through the guardrail and plummeted toward the dark water below. The impact was catastrophic. Metal crunched, glass shattered, and water rushed in from all sides. In those final moments of consciousness, a strange thought flashed through my mind. The brake failure didn't feel like an accident. As darkness claimed me, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone wanted me dead. I can't tell you the exact moment I regained consciousness, because there wasn't one. There was no dramatic gasp for air, no sudden opening of eyes, no movie-worthy awakening. Instead, consciousness returned gradually, like a radio being tuned in from static to clarity. First came sounds: beeping machines, hushed voices, squeaking shoes on linoleum. Then sensations: the scratch of hospital sheets, the pinch of N4 in my arm, the dull ache that seemed to encompass my entire body. What didn't come back was my ability to move or speak. I tried to open my eyes, to lift a finger, to make any sign that I was present, aware, listening. Nothing happened. My body remained as still and unresponsive as a statue while my mind screamed in frustration. "Her brain activity is unusual for a coma patient," a male voice said somewhere above me. "See these patterns here? It suggests some level of consciousness, but without any of the corresponding physical responses. So she might be able to hear us?" This voice was female, professional but warmer than the first. "Possibly. It's consistent with locked-in syndrome rather than a typical coma. The accident caused significant damage to her brainstem, which controls motor function, but her cerebral cortex appears largely intact. Should we inform the family?" A pause. "Let's not give false hope. The prognosis remains poor, and the chances of meaningful recovery are minimal. For all practical purposes, she's in a persistent vegetative state." That was the first time I understood my situation. I wasn't just injured, I was trapped. Locked inside a body that refused to obey the most basic commands. I couldn't even open my eyes to let them know I was listening, understanding, desperate to communicate. Later that day, at least I assumed it was the same day, I heard Stephanie's voice for the first time since the accident. Oh my God, Amber. Her voice broke on my name. Look at you. I can't believe this happened. Her hand found mine, squeezing with what felt like genuine grief. I heard her crying, soft hiccuping sobs that seemed to come from deep within her. The doctors say you might be able to hear me, so I'm here, okay? I'm not going anywhere. We'll get through this together. In that moment, I loved my sister fiercely. Whatever arguments we'd had before seemed trivial in the face of this catastrophe. If I could have squeezed her hand back, I would have. The next voice I recognized was Ryan's. He burst into the room like a whirlwind, his voice tight with panic. Amber. Baby, I'm here. I'm right here. His hand replaced Stephanie's, warm and familiar. I came as soon as I heard. The hospital called and, God, I can't believe this. I felt his tears falling on my arm as he leaned over me. I love you so much. Please come back to me. Please. In the days that followed, Ryan was a constant presence. He read to me for hours, my favorite books, news articles, even random Reddit threads that he thought might make me laugh internally. He played our favorite songs and told me stories about our friends, our trips, our plans for the future. The wedding venue called, he said one afternoon. I told them we'd need to postpone, not cancel. Because you're going to walk down that aisle, Amber. Maybe not next month like we planned, but someday. I promise. Stephanie's visits were less predictable. Sometimes she'd sit quietly beside me, occasionally reading magazines aloud or commenting on hospital gossip. Other times she'd talk about the gallery, her voice animated as she described new exhibits or potential investors. Dr. Maxwell was my primary physician, the male voice I'd heard that first day. He seemed competent but detached, discussing my case in clinical terms that made me sound more like a medical curiosity than a person. During his rounds, he'd check my vitals, adjust medications, and occasionally perform simple tests, lifting my eyelids to check pupil response, testing reflexes that never materialized. Any changes? Stephanie asked during one of his visits. Nothing significant, Dr. Maxwell replied. We're maintaining her condition, but without some spontaneous improvement, there's little more we can do. And the chances of that happening? A pause. Given the extent of the damage? Less than 5%. And even then, improvement might mean the ability to blink or move a finger, not a full recovery. So she'll never be Amber again. Stephanie's voice was flat, emotionless. It's extremely unlikely. I wanted to scream. I was still Amber. I was right here, listening to them discuss my future as if I were already gone. The first truly suspicious conversation happened about 3 weeks after the accident. I'd grown accustomed to the hospital's rhythms, shift changes at 7, medication rounds at 9 and 5, Ryan's visits in the evenings. I'd also become familiar with being discussed as if I weren't present, but this conversation was different. It's just so expensive, Stephanie said. She must have thought we were alone, because her voice had lost the grieving sister quality it usually carried. The hospital bills are astronomical and insurance only covers so much. That's unfortunately the reality of long-term care, Dr. Maxwell responded. And for what? So she can lie here indefinitely, draining the estate that should be, she stopped abruptly. Should be what, Ms. Hayes? Nothing. It's hard seeing her like this. Amber was always so vibrant, so full of life. She wouldn't want to exist this way. Many families struggle with these decisions, Dr. Maxwell said carefully. There are options we can discuss regarding ongoing care, including hospice arrangements or comfort care measures. Meaning what exactly? Focusing on comfort rather than prolonging life at all costs. Especially when quality of life is so severely compromised. There was a long silence, during which I imagined Stephanie studying me, calculating. She has a DNR, doesn't she? Stephanie finally asked. Yes, your sister did sign a do not resuscitate order. It's in her advance directive. So if something were to happen, you wouldn't intervene? That's correct. If her heart were to stop or if she were to stop breathing, we would not perform CPR or put her on a ventilator. Another silence. When Stephanie spoke again, her voice had dropped to nearly a whisper. How long do patients like this usually last? My blood ran cold. Or it would have, if I'd had any control over my bodily functions. What was she asking? What was she planning? It varies greatly, Dr. Maxwell answered. Some patients remain stable for decades with proper care. Decades, Stephanie repeated, as if the word tasted bitter. That seems cruel, doesn't it? For everyone involved. It was the first moment I truly feared my sister. Not for what she said, exactly, but for what she left unsaid. The conversation moved on to medical details, but a seed of suspicion had been planted in my mind. A seed that would soon grow into terror. Amber, I've brought someone special to meet you. Stephanie's voice had that forced cheerfulness I'd come to recognize, the tone she used when others were present. I'd been in the hospital for just over a month, and my sister had settled into a routine of daily visits, though their quality varied dramatically depending on who else was in the room. This is Jason. We've been seeing each other for a few weeks now. Hey, Amber. A male voice, deep and smooth. Stephanie's told me so much about you. I wish we could have met under better circumstances. Something about his voice triggered a faint sense of recognition, but I couldn't place it. Had I met him before? At one of Stephanie's gallery events, perhaps? Jason's been so supportive through all this, Stephanie continued. I don't know what I would have done without him. You're a fighter, babe. Just like your sister apparently was. Was. Past tense. As if I were already gone. Their conversation drifted to mundane topics. A movie they'd seen, dinner plans for later, an upcoming exhibition at Stephanie's gallery. I drifted in and out of attention until something Jason said snapped me back to full awareness. Have you talked to Max about the latest tests? Max? Dr. Maxwell? Not yet, Stephanie replied. He's supposed to stop by later today. Good. I think he's coming around to our way of thinking. Our way of thinking? About what? The mystery was solved later that afternoon when Dr. Maxwell entered my room. The usual sounds of a chart being checked and vitals being noted were interrupted by a familiar voice. Hey, bro, thought I'd catch you on rounds. Bro? Jason was Dr. Maxwell's brother? Jason. I didn't expect to see you here. Dr. Maxwell's tone was professional, but noticeably cooler than usual. Just supporting Stephanie. She's having a rough day. I see. A pause. Miss Hayes, could we speak privately for a moment? About your sister's condition. I heard Stephanie stand, her chair scraping against the floor. Jason can stay. We don't have secrets. Another pause, longer this time. Very well. As I was telling you yesterday, your sister's condition remains unchanged. We're not seeing any indications of improvement. And the brain activity you mentioned before? The patterns that suggested consciousness. They've diminished over time. It's not uncommon to see such activity initially, even in patients with catastrophic brain injuries. He was lying. I knew he was lying because I was right here, listening, thinking, understanding every word. My consciousness hadn't diminished. If anything, it had become sharper as my body remained motionless. So she's not aware? Not suffering? Stephanie pressed. No, I don't believe she has any awareness of her surroundings or condition. Another lie. What was going on? That's a relief, Stephanie sighed. I couldn't bear to think of her trapped in there, unable to communicate. The conversation shifted to my prognosis, unchanged, treatment options limited, and the financial aspects of long-term care. It was during this last topic that Jason spoke up again. The estate is covering the medical expenses for now, right? Yes, Stephanie answered. The trust administrator approved it as a necessary expenditure. But it's complicated because technically both Amber and I need to agree on major financial decisions. But given the circumstances, Jason prompted. Mr. Garrison, the family attorney, says that since Amber is incapacitated, decisions default to me as the other beneficiary. But it's all so slow. Every bill has to be submitted, approved, processed. And if Amber were to pass away? Dr. Maxwell asked quietly. What happens to the estate then? My heart would have raced if it could. Why was my doctor asking about my inheritance? It would all come to me, Stephanie replied simply. Our parents was clear about that. If either of us dies before the 2-year trust period ends, the surviving sister inherits everything. The room fell silent. I imagine the three of them looking at each other, a new understanding forming. That would certainly simplify things, Jason finally said. Jason. Dr. Maxwell's voice held a warning. What? I'm just stating facts. Stephanie's been through hell watching her sister waste away. The financial burden is enormous. And for what? So Amber can lie here indefinitely with no quality of life? Sometimes nature needs a little help taking its course. I could lose my medical license for even having this conversation, Dr. Maxwell hissed. No one's suggesting anything inappropriate, Stephanie interjected smoothly. But as Amber's medical proxy, I do have the right to make decisions about her care, including whether extraordinary measures should be continued. Removing life support is one thing, Dr. Maxwell said. Amber isn't on a ventilator. She's breathing on her own. Her heart is beating on her own. The only extraordinary measures are nutrition, hydration, and basic medications. Surely there are other considerations, Jason pressed. Quality of life. Dignity. Financial realities. I can't be part of this conversation. I heard footsteps, Dr. Maxwell leaving, I assumed, but they stopped at the door. Max, wait. Stephanie's voice was urgent. Please. Just hear us out. A long pause, then the sound of the door closing. Dr. Maxwell had stayed. The hospital is in financial trouble, isn't it? Jason asked. I've seen the reports. Budget cuts, layoffs looming. That's not relevant to this case, Dr. Maxwell replied stiffly. It is when you're up for chief of neurology, Jason countered. A position that might not exist if the hospital's financial situation doesn't improve. Are you threatening me? I'm offering a solution, Stephanie cut in. One that benefits everyone. Everyone except your sister. Amber is gone, Max. You said it yourself. There's no meaningful consciousness there. Just a body being kept alive by machines and medications. That doesn't give us the right to. $500,000, Stephanie interrupted. To your department's research fund. Officially donated in Amber's memory after she succumbs to complications from her injuries. The silence that followed was deafening. That's a substantial donation, Jason added. Enough to fund several promising research projects. Save jobs. Maybe even secure that promotion. This is beyond unethical, Dr. Maxwell said, but his voice had lost some of its conviction. Is it? Stephanie's voice was closer now, as if she'd moved to stand beside him. Or is it more unethical to keep someone alive in this condition? Trapped in a broken body with no hope of recovery. If I could have screamed, I would have. They were discussing my murder as if it were a mercy. What exactly are you suggesting? Dr. Maxwell finally asked. Nothing dramatic, Jason answered. A slight adjustment to her medication. A mischeck on her feeding tube. Small things that wouldn't raise suspicions, but might allow nature to take its course more efficiently. And if I refuse? Then we find another doctor who understands the situation better, Stephanie said coldly. One who might be interested in a private practice opportunity that Jason and I could help finance. The three of them continued negotiating, because that's what it was, a negotiation over my life, for what felt like hours. They discussed timelines, methods, alibis. Dr. Maxwell insisted on plausible deniability. Jason suggested gradual changes over weeks rather than anything sudden. Stephanie wanted guarantees. I need this to be over, she said at one point. The gallery is drowning. I can't access enough capital without triggering trust reviews, and watching her like this day after day is torture. 2 weeks, Dr. Maxwell finally agreed. We'll begin reducing her supportive care gradually. Nothing obvious, nothing traceable. Not fast enough, Stephanie argued. Ryan visits every day. He's watching her like a hawk, looking for any sign of improvement. Then we'll need to be careful, Dr. Maxwell insisted. Patient decline has to appear natural. Finish her, Stephanie said, her voice hard and unfamiliar. She's already weak. Her body is failing. Just help it along. I'll start tonight, Dr. Maxwell conceded. A slight change to her medication. Then we'll proceed carefully from there. They left shortly after, presumably to finalize details away from my bedside. I lay there, paralyzed not just by my condition but by terror. My own sister had just arranged my murder. The doctor sworn to heal me had agreed to kill me. And I could do nothing, absolutely nothing, to save myself. In my desperation, I focused every ounce of my consciousness on moving. Just one finger. Just one eyelid. Any sign that I was still here, still fighting. For hours, I concentrated until it felt like my mind would shatter from the effort. And then it happened, a miracle so small it would have been laughable in any other circumstance. My right index finger twitched. Not much, barely a millimeter of movement, but it moved. I did it again. And again. The movement was microscopic, invisible to anyone not specifically watching for it, but it was movement. It wasn't enough to signal for help. It wasn't enough to save my life. But it was proof that the connection between my mind and body wasn't completely severed. It was a start. Now I just needed someone, anyone, to notice before Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell carried out their plan. Good morning, sunshine. It's another beautiful Seattle day. Well, it's raining, but that's beautiful in its own way, right? The cheerful voice belonged to Nurse Leah Bennett, a recent addition to my care team. She'd started working my floor about a week ago, and unlike most of the staff who treated me with clinical efficiency, Leah talked to me as if I could hear and understand every word. Let's get you comfortable for the day, she continued, moving around my room with light, quick steps. I'm going to change your position to prevent those nasty bed sores, check your vitals, and then we can have our morning chat. Leah's morning chats had quickly become the highlight of my days. She'd tell me about her life, her 5-year-old son Noah, her garden that was more weeds than vegetables, her night classes toward a nurse practitioner degree. She asked me questions too, as if expecting no response, but offering the courtesy of conversation anyway. You had some medication changes overnight, she mentioned casually as she checked my IV. Dr. Maxwell adjusted your anti-seizure meds. Any particular reason, I wonder? Your chart doesn't show any seizure activity. My finger twitched involuntarily at the mention of Dr. Maxwell. I'd been practicing my minimal movement obsessively, and while I couldn't control it perfectly, I could sometimes manage a small twitch in response to strong emotions. Wait a minute. Leah's voice dropped to a whisper. Did your finger just move? She grasped my hand gently, her warm fingers wrapping around mine. Amber? If you can hear me, try to move your finger again. I concentrated with everything I had, focusing all my mental energy on that single digit. Move. 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 A twitch. Barely perceptible, but there. Oh my God. Leah's voice was breathless. You're in there, aren't you? You can hear me. Another twitch. Yes. Yes. I'm here. Okay, stay calm. Both of us need to stay calm. She sounded anything but calm, her words tumbling out rapidly. This changes everything. We need to document this. Get another neurological assessment. Inform Dr. Maxwell. My finger twitched violently at the doctor's name. What was that? Did you react to Dr. Maxwell's name? Leah asked, her voice sharpening with curiosity. Another twitch. Are you afraid of Dr. Maxwell? Her voice had dropped to a whisper now. Twitch. Has he done something wrong? Twitch. Okay, this is big, Amber. I need to be careful here. Let me think. She released my hand, and I heard her pacing the room. Dr. Maxwell is the head of your care team. If there's something wrong, I need more information before I can help you. And I need evidence of your responsiveness that others can verify. She returned to my bedside. Let's establish a communication system. 1 twitch for yes, 2 for no. Can you do that? I twitched once. Yes. Good. Are you in pain right now? 2 twitches. No. Are you fully conscious and aware of your surroundings? 1 twitch. Yes. And you understand everything being said around you? 1 twitch. Yes. Has Dr. Maxwell done something inappropriate regarding your care? 1 emphatic twitch. Yes. Is it something that could harm you? 1 twitch. Yes. Leah's breath caught. Is he deliberately trying to harm you? 1 twitch. My finger was getting tired, but this was too important. Amber, this is a very serious accusation. I need to be absolutely certain. Is Dr. Maxwell intentionally doing something that could cause your death? 1 firm twitch. Yes. And your sister, is she involved? 1 twitch. Yes. Oh my God. Leah's voice trembled. I need to document this, but I can't let Dr. Maxwell know that I know. He'd just deny it, and without proof. She paused, thinking. Okay, here's the plan. I'm going to document your responses in my personal notes, not the official chart. Then I'm going to bring in Dr. Torres. She's a neurologist I trust completely. We'll establish your consciousness with her as a witness, but we'll keep it quiet for now. I twitched once in agreement. I need to get back to my rounds before someone gets suspicious. But I'll be back as soon as I can with Dr. Torres. In the meantime, try to rest. Don't exhaust yourself trying to move. We're going to figure this out, Amber. I promise. She squeezed my hand gently before leaving. For the first time since overhearing Stephanie's murderous plans, I felt a flicker of hope. Dr. Torres arrived with Leah during the afternoon lull, when the hospital corridors were quietest. This is highly irregular, Nurse Bennett, Dr. Torres was saying as they entered. Dr. Maxwell is the attending physician on this case. Protocol requires. With all due respect, Doctor, I believe this patient is showing signs of consciousness that have been overlooked or ignored. I thought you might want to evaluate her independently before we update the official records. Dr. Torres sighed. Very well. But this had better not be a waste of my time. I heard the rustle of papers as Dr. Torres presumably reviewed my chart. Severe traumatic brain injury, primarily affecting the brainstem. Minimal brain activity consistent with persistent vegetative state. No reported responsiveness to stimuli. She paused. What exactly did you observe, Nurse Bennett? Finger movement in response to questions. Consistent enough to establish a communication pattern, 1 twitch for yes, 2 for no. That could be involuntary muscle spasms. Common in cases like this. With respect, Doctor, these movements were clearly responsive to specific questions. Watch. I felt Leah's hand take mine again. Amber, Dr. Torres is here to help us. Can you show her that you can hear me? 1 twitch for yes. I concentrated and produced a clear twitch. That could be coincidence, Dr. Torres said, though she sounded less certain. Or suggestion on your part. Ask her something yourself, Leah challenged. Something only a conscious person would know. Dr. Torres was quiet for a moment. Then, Amber, if you can hear me, I'm going to ask you a simple math question. Twitch once for yes, twice for no. Is 2 plus 3 equal to 6? I twitched twice. No. Is 2 plus 3 equal to 5? 1 twitch. Yes. My God. Dr. Torres's voice had changed completely, filled with wonder and professional excitement. This is consistent with locked-in syndrome, not a vegetative state. Her consciousness is intact, but her ability to communicate is severely limited by motor impairment. So you believe me? Leah asked. Yes. This changes everything about her prognosis and care plan. We need to inform Dr. Maxwell immediately and update. No. Leah interrupted sharply. I mean, Amber, do you want us to tell Dr. Maxwell about this development? 2 emphatic twitches. No. See? Leah said. Something's wrong. Amber, is there something about Dr. Maxwell that concerns you? 1 twitch. Yes. This is highly unusual, Dr. Torres said slowly. Are you suggesting Dr. Maxwell is providing inadequate care? 1 twitch. Or something worse? Leah pressed. 1 twitch. Dr. Torres was silent for a long moment. These are serious implications. Without concrete evidence. The door to my room suddenly opened, and I heard Stephanie's voice. Oh. I didn't realize Amber had visitors. My finger twitched frantically against Leah's palm. Danger. Danger. Miss Hayes, Leah said smoothly, releasing my hand. This is Dr. Torres, a neurologist consulting on your sister's case. Another neurologist? Why? Has something changed? Stephanie's voice held just the right note of concerned hope, but I knew better now. Just a routine consultation, Dr. Torres replied professionally. We regularly bring in different specialists to provide fresh perspectives on long-term cases. I see. And have you found anything new? We're still conducting our evaluation, Dr. Torres said carefully. Nurse Bennett was just assisting me with some baseline measurements. How dedicated, Stephanie commented. It's comforting to know Amber has such attentive care. Her tone suggested otherwise. We should continue this later, Dr. Torres said to Leah. Let's give Ms. Hayes some time with her sister. Of course, doctor. After they left, Stephanie sat beside my bed. Well, that was interesting timing, she murmured. A new neurologist and a very interested nurse. I wonder what they're really looking for. She leaned closer. It doesn't matter. Dr. Maxwell has everything under control. In a few days, this will all be over, and I can finally start living the life I deserve. The life that should have been mine all along. Her hand brushed my cheek in what would look like a tender gesture to any observer. You always were Dad's favorite, she whispered. The golden child who could do no wrong. But where did that get you? Here. Trapped in a broken body while I finally get everything. She stood up. I should go. Jason's waiting. We're meeting with a real estate agent about a property in Maui. Your half of the inheritance will cover it nicely. After she left, I lay in terrified silence. Leah and Dr. Torres knew I was conscious, but did they truly understand the danger I was in? And would they be able to gather evidence in time to stop Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell's plan? My life was now in the hands of a nurse I'd known for barely a week and a doctor I'd just met. It wasn't much, but it was more hope than I'd had yesterday. The small recording device made a faint click as Leah activated it and slipped it beneath my pillow. This is probably breaking a dozen hospital policies, she whispered, but extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary measures. It was 3 days since she and Dr. Torres had confirmed my consciousness, and they had been working tirelessly and secretly to build a case. Dr. Torres had conducted additional neurological tests during consultation visits, carefully documenting my responses while keeping them out of my official medical record. Leah had been tracking irregularities in my medication dosages, noting discrepancies between what Dr. Maxwell ordered and what standard protocol would suggest. The recorder will run continuously, Leah explained. It has about 12 hours of battery life, so I'll replace it during my shifts. If Dr. Maxwell or your sister say anything incriminating while they're in here, we'll have it on tape. I twitched my finger once in acknowledgement. My communication abilities had improved slightly with practice. I could now control the timing of my movements better, though I was still limited to that single finger. Dr. Torres is bringing in a specialist in locked-in syndrome tomorrow, Leah continued. Dr. Kapoor has developed an eye-tracking system that might give you more communication options. The technology is experimental, but... She broke off as the door opened. I felt her hand quickly adjust my pillow, concealing the recorder more securely. Nurse Bennett. Dr. Maxwell's voice was cool. I wasn't aware Ms. Hayes was due for care at this hour. Just checking her comfort levels, Doctor, Leah replied professionally. Her position needs adjustment every 2 hours to prevent pressure sores. I'm familiar with standard protocols, thank you. He paused. I'll take it from here. You're needed in room 412. Of course, doctor. Leah squeezed my hand quickly before leaving. A silent message of solidarity. Once we were alone, Dr. Maxwell moved around the room, checking equipment and making notes in my chart. Your sister tells me you had additional visitors yesterday, he remarked casually. Dr. Torres, I believe? I wasn't aware I'd approved a neurology consult. Of course he hadn't. That was the point. Hospital policy requires all consultations to be authorized by the attending physician, he continued. I'm sure it was just an administrative oversight. I've spoken with Dr. Torres to clarify the situation. His voice had an edge that made me deeply uneasy. Had he intimidated Dr. Torres? Threatened her career if she continued investigating? In any case, I've adjusted your medication regimen again, he said, his tone deceptively conversational. Your blood pressure has been unstable, nothing alarming, but enough to warrant intervention. We'll start you on a new drug today. I knew what that meant. Another step in their plan to let nature take its course. I desperately wished I could see what he was adding to my 4. Your sister is very concerned about your quality of life, he continued. As am I. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for our patients is to ease their suffering. All of their suffering. The recorder was capturing every word, but would it be enough? Would anyone believe that these vague statements indicated murderous intent rather than medical compassion? Dr. Maxwell left shortly after, and I was alone with my thoughts and the hidden recorder. Hours passed. Nurses came and went, none of them Leah, to my disappointment. Then, in the early evening, I heard Stephanie and Jason enter my room. "Max says everything's progressing," Stephanie said quietly, once they were sure we were alone. "The new medication should start affecting her kidney function within days." "Good," Jason replied. "The sooner this is over, the better." "Did you talk to the trust administrator?" "Yes, he confirmed that everything transfers to me upon Amber's death. I've already found the perfect property for us in Maui. 6 bedrooms, private beach, room for your design studio. And the gallery expansion? Already in negotiations for the space next door. With Amber's half of the inheritance, we'll have more than enough to create the premier art destination in Seattle." Their conversation continued, detailing all the ways they planned to spend my money once I was dead. Jason mentioned needing to take care of the brake line evidence from my car accident, confirmation of what I'd suspected all along. Stephanie hadn't just been willing to let me die, she'd caused the accident in the first place. They were interrupted by a knock at the door. Ryan entered, and the atmosphere in the room immediately changed. "Stephanie." "Jason." Ryan's voice was cordial but cool. "How is she today?" "The same," Stephanie replied, her voice once again taking on that caring sister quality. Dr. Maxwell adjusted her medication again. "We're still hoping for the best." "I bring fresh flowers every day," Ryan said, and I could smell the sweet fragrance as he moved closer to my bed. "Daisies today. Her favorite." "That's sweet," Stephanie said, sounding anything but sincere. "We should give you some privacy." Jason and I were just leaving. After they departed, Ryan sat beside me, taking my hand. "Hey, beautiful," he said softly. "It's just us now." He talked to me about his day, about our friends, about a house he'd seen that would be perfect for us when you wake up. His unshakable faith in my recovery would have brought me to tears if I could cry. "Something strange happened today," he mentioned. "A nurse I haven't seen before pulled me aside and asked questions about your accident. About your relationship with Stephanie. It seemed odd." That would be Leah, I realized. She was investigating the accident. She wanted to know if your brakes had been serviced recently, if anyone else had access to your car. I told her you'd mentioned weird noises a few days before the crash, but you hadn't had time to get it checked out. Ryan continued, unaware that he was providing crucial information. "Also, I found something in your studio yesterday when I was watering your plants. A notebook where you'd written some concerns about Stephanie's behavior after your parents died. About large withdrawals from the gallery account that didn't match reported expenses." I'd forgotten about that notebook. I'd started documenting discrepancies in Stephanie's financial reporting, concerned that she was misusing the money I'd loaned her. I didn't think much of it at the time, but with this nurse asking questions. "I don't know. Something doesn't feel right." Ryan squeezed my hand. "I know Stephanie's your sister, but she's been acting strangely. Yesterday, I overheard her talking about when this is all over in a way that made it sound like she's expecting you to die." My finger twitched against his palm. Ryan gasped. "Amber? Did you just? Can you hear me?" I twitched again, deliberately. "Oh my God. Oh my God." His voice broke. "You're in there. You can hear me." One twitch. "Yes. The doctors said, they said you weren't conscious, that your brain activity was minimal. Have you been aware this whole time?" One twitch. Can you understand everything I'm saying?" One twitch. "Amber, this changes everything. We need to tell Dr. Maxwell right away." Two frantic twitches. "No. No." "What? Why not? This is incredible news." How could I explain? With just yes and no responses, how could I tell him that Dr. Maxwell was trying to kill me? Are you afraid of something?" One twitch. "Of Dr. Maxwell?" One twitch. Ryan was silent for a long moment. The nurse who was asking questions. "She knows you're conscious, doesn't she?" One twitch. "And there's something wrong with your care. Something dangerous." One twitch. "Is Stephanie involved too?" One emphatic twitch. Ryan's breathing had changed, becoming rapid and shallow. "The accident. Your notebook. Stephanie's behavior. The inheritance. Oh God, Amber, are they trying to? The door opened, cutting him off. Mr. Mitchell. Dr. Maxwell's voice was sharp with surprise. Visiting hours ended 20 minutes ago. I lost track of time, Ryan said, his voice carefully controlled. I was just saying goodnight to Amber. I need to administer her evening medications, Dr. Maxwell said. You'll have to leave now. Of course. Ryan squeezed my hand one final time. I'll be back first thing tomorrow, sweetheart. That's a promise. After Ryan left, Dr. Maxwell moved around the room, preparing medication. Your fiancé is quite devoted, he commented. It would be kinder if he accepted reality and moved on with his life. He approached my foreline. This new medication might make you feel strange for a while. Dizziness, nausea, not that you can tell me about such symptoms. But they're a normal part of the process. The process of killing me, he meant. It should be over soon, he added softly. For what it's worth, I wish there had been another way. After he left, I lay in the dark, terrified that whatever he had just administered would take effect before Leah or Dr. Torres could intervene. But I had a new ally now. Ryan knew the truth, or at least enough of it to be suspicious. And he would be back tomorrow. If I survived that long. Around midnight, the door to my room opened quietly. A penlight flashed briefly, and I heard Leah's whispered voice. It's just me, Amber. I'm here to check on you and replace the recorder. She worked quickly in the darkness. Dr. Torres and I have been going through your medical records. The medication changes are suspicious, but not overtly lethal. Maxwell's being careful. But together, they create a dangerous cocktail, especially for someone in your condition. She adjusted something on my foreline. I've reduced the flow rate slightly, not enough for him to notice on his rounds, but enough to minimize how much of that garbage gets into your system. The recorder under my pillow clicked softly as she removed it and replaced it with a fresh one. Got some interesting conversations today. Ryan came to find me after he left, said you communicated with him. Is that right? One twitch. Good. Another witness helps our case. Dr. Kapoor is coming tomorrow with the eye tracking system. If it works, you'll be able to spell out messages, give us more details. And the police detective I contacted is reviewing the brake line evidence from your car. Apparently, the investigating officer found the failure suspicious, but couldn't prove sabotage. She paused, squeezing my hand. We're building the case, Amber. Just hang in there a little longer. As Leah slipped out, I felt a surge of determination. The evidence was mounting. Ryan, Leah, Dr. Torres, now potentially the police, a team of allies fighting for my life, while Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell plotted to end it. Tomorrow would bring Dr. Kapoor and the eye tracking system. If it worked, I could finally tell my full story. If not, I tried not to think about the alternative. One day at a time. 1 hour at a time. Just stay alive until help arrives. The next day passed in a blur of visitors and anxiety. Dr. Kapoor arrived with his eye tracking system, a sophisticated camera mounted on a tablet that could detect minute eye movements behind my closed lids. It took hours of calibration, with Dr. Torres and Leah assisting while Ryan stood watch at the door to prevent interruptions. Blink hard when you see the letter you want, Dr. Kapoor instructed as the system ran through the alphabet. The software will detect the movement and record your selection. It was painstakingly slow work, but by mid-afternoon, I had managed to spell out my first complete message. Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell trying to kill me for inheritance. Ryan, who had been watching the words appear letter by letter, let out a strangled sound. I knew something was wrong, but this. We need to contact the police immediately, Dr. Torres said firmly. Not yet, Leah cautioned. We need more concrete evidence. Right now it's Amber's word against theirs, and Dr. Maxwell has the medical authority to explain away any suspicious treatment decisions. The recordings? Dr. Kapoor asked. Suggestive but not explicit enough, Leah explained. They've been careful not to say anything that directly proves murderous intent. So what's the plan? Ryan demanded. Wait until they succeed in killing her? I blinked out another message. Tonight. Heard them plan final dose tonight. The room fell silent as my warning appeared on the screen. Then we set a trap, Leah said finally. Catch them in the act. The plan came together quickly. Ryan would pretend to leave at the end of visiting hours, but actually hide in the adjoining bathroom. Leah would arrange for security to be nearby. Dr. Torres would position herself at the nurse's station with a clear view of my room. And most importantly, the recorder under my pillow would be supplemented by a small camera hidden in the flower arrangement Ryan had brought, positioned to capture anyone approaching my foreline. "We'll need to alert hospital security," Dr. Torres insisted. "This goes beyond professional misconduct into criminal territory." "I have a friend in the Seattle PD," Ryan added. "Detective Marcus Walsh. He's been looking into the brake line evidence from Amber's accident. I'll call him now." As they finalized the details, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Fear, certainly, but also hope and a fierce determination. Tonight would end either with justice or with my death. There would be no middle ground. The hospital quieted as evening approached. Shift change brought a new round of nurses, none of whom were told about our plan. The fewer people who knew, the less chance of tipping off Dr. Maxwell. Ryan made a show of saying goodnight, kissing my forehead tenderly before leaving and doubling back to hide in the bathroom. Leah checked on me one last time before her shift ended. "Everything's in place," she whispered. "Detective Walsh and 2 officers are waiting down the hall with hospital security. Dr. Torres is at the nurse's station. The recording devices are active." She squeezed my hand. "We've got you, Amber. Just hold on." The hours crawled by. 9 o'clock. 10. 11. Had they changed their plans? Had they somehow discovered our trap? At 11:42 p.m., the door to my room opened quietly. I heard 2 sets of footsteps. One heavy, one lighter. "Are you sure about this?" Dr. Maxwell's voice was tense, uncertain. "We've been over this a dozen times," Stephanie replied impatiently. "The DNR gives us legal cover. If anyone asks, she had an unexpected cardiac event. It happens with coma patients. This isn't a natural cardiac event. This is mercy," Stephanie interrupted. "And a business transaction. You're being well compensated for your expertise, Dr. Maxwell. Now do what we agreed upon." I heard the rustle of fabric as Dr. Maxwell presumably removed something from his pocket. "This will cause a rapid drop in blood pressure followed by cardiac arrest. It will appear natural, especially given her history of medication adjustments." "How long will it take?" Stephanie asked. "Minutes. 5, perhaps 10. No more than that." "And you're certain it can't be traced?" "The compound breaks down rapidly in the bloodstream. By the time an autopsy would be performed, if one is even ordered, there would be no trace." "Good." Stephanie moved closer to my bed. "It's time to say goodbye, sister dear. Thanks for the inheritance. I'll be sure to enjoy every penny of it." I heard Dr. Maxwell uncap a syringe, felt him take hold of my foreport. This was it, the moment our plan had been designed to capture. But what if something went wrong? What if the security team didn't arrive in time? What if the evidence wasn't clear enough? The bathroom door burst open. "Get away from her," Ryan shouted. Simultaneously, the main door to my room flew open, and multiple sets of footsteps rushed in. "Dr. Maxwell, step away from the patient." That was Dr. Torres's voice, commanding and furious. "What is the meaning of this?" Dr. Maxwell demanded, but I could hear the panic beneath his professional indignation. "Seattle Police," a new voice announced. "Detective Marcus Walsh. Dr. James Maxwell, please put down the syringe and step away from the patient." "This is absurd," Stephanie protested. "We're her family and physician. You have no right to interfere with her medical care. Is that what you call murder these days? Medical care?" Detective Walsh's voice was cold. "We have evidence that you tampered with Ms. Hayes' car, causing the accident that put her in this condition. And now we've caught you attempting to administer an unauthorized and potentially lethal substance." "That's ridiculous," Dr. Maxwell sputtered. "This is a standard medication for—" "Save it for your lawyer," Detective Walsh interrupted. "We have recordings of your conversations planning Ms. Hayes' death. We have financial records showing Ms. Stephanie Hayes' attempt to access her sister's inheritance. We have testimony from medical professionals documenting deliberate deviations from standard care protocols. And most importantly, Ryan added, his voice shaking with emotion, we have Amber's testimony. She's conscious. She can hear everything. She's been aware this entire time while you plotted to kill her. Impossible, Dr. Maxwell whispered. See for yourself, Dr. Torres said. I heard the click of a switch, and then my eye-tracking communication system must have been activated. The message I had prepared earlier would be visible on the screen. I hear everything. I know what you did. This is a setup, Stephanie said desperately. She can't possibly be conscious. Dr. Maxwell confirmed her vegetative state repeatedly. Dr. Maxwell lied, Leah stated flatly. Just as he lied about her prognosis, her medication needs, and her chances of recovery. James Maxwell, you're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder, Detective Walsh announced. Stephanie Hayes, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and tampering with a vehicle resulting in grievous bodily harm. You can't prove any of this, Stephanie hissed, but her voice had lost its confidence. Actually, we can, Detective Walsh replied. In addition to the recordings we already have, this entire conversation has been documented on video and audio. The syringe you were about to administer will be tested. And Ms. Hayes herself will testify using adaptive communication technology. I heard the metallic click of handcuffs, followed by the Miranda rights being read. As Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell were led away, the room fell quiet except for Ryan's ragged breathing as he moved to my side. It's over, Amber, he whispered, taking my hand. They can't hurt you anymore. You're safe now. My finger twitched against his palm once. Yes, I was safe. But the journey to recovery was just beginning. Good morning, superstar. Ready for another day of kicking rehabilitations, but 6 months had passed since the night of Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell's arrest, and my life had transformed in ways I never could have imagined during those dark days trapped in my unresponsive body. The voice belonged to Diana, my physical therapist, a perpetually enthusiastic woman with boundless energy and unwavering optimism. She had been with me since I was transferred to the Seattle Rehabilitation Center, one of the country's leading facilities for traumatic brain injury recovery. Let's see those arm lifts we've been working on, she encouraged, supporting my right arm as I struggled to raise it independently. The journey to this point had been grueling. After Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell were arrested, I was immediately transferred to a different hospital, where a complete reassessment of my condition was performed. The diagnosis confirmed what Leah and Dr. Torres had suspected. Locked-in syndrome rather than a persistent vegetative state. With the proper treatment free from Dr. Maxwell's sabotage, my condition began to improve incrementally. First came more reliable communication. Dr. Kapoor's eye-tracking system was replaced by a more sophisticated version that allowed me to communicate with increasing speed and accuracy. Then, miraculously, I began to regain minor motor functions, first the finger movements I had already discovered, then slight movements of my wrists, then limited facial expressions. Speech was harder. The neurological pathways controlling my vocal cords had been severely damaged in the accident. But after months of speech therapy with the tireless Ms. Garcia, I managed my first audible words. Thank you. Those words were directed at Leah, who had come to visit me on her day off. She had cried then, wrapping me in a gentle hug as tears streamed down both our faces. Ryan had been my rock throughout it all. He had taken a leave of absence from his job as an architectural engineer to be with me every day, only returning to part-time work when my condition stabilized. Every milestone, every setback, every moment of progress or frustration, he was there, holding my hand, encouraging me, loving me unconditionally. You're doing amazing, Amber, Diana said now as I completed my 10th arm lift. The neural pathways are definitely reestablishing themselves. Dr. Lopez is going to be impressed when he sees you next week. Dr. Lopez was my neurologist, a brilliant physician who specialized in brain plasticity and neural regeneration. Unlike Dr. Maxwell, whose cold clinical approach had masked murderous intentions, Dr. Lopez combined medical expertise with genuine compassion. Ready to try standing today? Diana asked, her eyes twinkling with challenge. I nodded, a motion that had once been impossible but was now part of my growing repertoire of movements. Standing remained one of the most difficult physical challenges, requiring coordination and strength that my damaged nervous system struggled to provide. But I was determined to walk again, to walk down the aisle to Ryan, specifically. Our wedding had been postponed, not canceled. The new date was set for 1 year after my accident, an anniversary that would transform from tragedy to triumph. I was determined to stand for our vows, even if I needed support. While my physical rehabilitation progressed, the legal case against Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell had moved forward with surprising speed. The evidence was overwhelming. The recordings captured in my hospital room, combined with forensic analysis of my car that confirmed tampering with the brake lines, provided prosecutors with an airtight case. Jason, Dr. Maxwell's brother and Stephanie's boyfriend, had quickly turned state's evidence in exchange for immunity, revealing the entire conspiracy in detailed testimony. Stephanie had first approached him with the plan to access my inheritance, knowing his connection to Dr. Maxwell might prove useful. Together, they had convinced the doctor to join their scheme, exploiting his financial difficulties and professional ambitions. I provided testimony as well, using the eye tracking system to answer questions during a special deposition arranged by the district attorney. Seeing Stephanie in the courtroom, handcuffed, dressed in prison orange, her face a mask of cold hatred, had been one of the most difficult moments of my recovery. "She's not worth your energy," Ryan had whispered during a break in the proceedings. "Focus on getting better. Focus on us." He was right, of course. But forgiveness didn't come easily, not when my own sister had tried to kill me twice, first by sabotaging my car, then by conspiring with my doctor to finish the job when the accident failed to kill me. The trial lasted 3 weeks. In the end, both Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell were convicted on all counts. Stephanie received 30 years without possibility of parole. Dr. Maxwell, who had expressed remorse during sentencing, received 25 years. Their appeals were ongoing, but the prosecuting attorney had assured me their convictions were solid. "Okay, on 3, Diana said, bringing me back to the present moment. 1, 2, 3. With her support, I pushed up from my wheelchair, legs trembling with effort as they took my weight. Each time I managed to stand a little longer, a little stronger. Today, I remained upright for nearly a minute before needing to sit again. "That's a new record," Diana exclaimed, high-fiving me as I settled back into the chair. "You're making incredible progress, Amber. Truly remarkable." Later that afternoon, Leah visited during her lunch break. She had been promoted to head nurse on her floor, a recognition of her exceptional care and ethical standards. More importantly to me, she had become a dear friend. "Guess who's starting the police academy next month?" she announced as she unwrapped the sandwiches she'd brought for our lunch. "Noah's father?" I asked. My speech was still slow and somewhat slurred, but improving daily. "Yes." After years of talking about it, Marcus finally submitted his application. Passed all the tests with flying colors. Marcus Walsh, the detective who had arrested Stephanie and Dr. Maxwell, had become a regular fixture in Leah's life after they met during my case. Their relationship had developed slowly, with Marcus taking time to bond with Leah's son Noah before things turned romantic. "He's good for you," I said, genuinely happy for my friend. "Noah loves him." "He does," Leah agreed, smiling softly. "And well, let's just say I'm not opposed to the idea of giving Noah a sibling someday." We chatted about her relationship, my upcoming wedding, and the foundation Ryan and I were establishing to support patients with locked-in syndrome and other forms of traumatic brain injury. The Hayes Mitchell Foundation would provide funding for adaptive communication technology, specialized rehabilitation programs, and support services for families navigating the challenging journey of recovery. "Using your inheritance to help others in your situation, I think your parents would be proud," Leah said. My parents. Their deaths still ached like a fresh wound sometimes. The knowledge that Stephanie had resented them, had coveted their money so intensely that she was willing to kill her own sister to get it, that was a pain that might never fully heal. "Sometimes I wonder," I said slowly, carefully forming each word if I missed signs. "Before the accident, Signs that Stephanie was capable of this. Leah reached across the table to squeeze my hand. Don't do that to yourself. Some people hide their darkness well. You chose to see the best in your sister, to help her when she needed it. That speaks to your character, not your judgment. That evening, Ryan brought dinner from our favorite Thai restaurant, setting up an impromptu picnic in my room at the rehabilitation center. I spoke with the contractor today, he said as we ate. The house modifications should be finished by the time you're discharged. Wheelchair ramps, accessible bathroom, the works. Though at the rate you're improving, you might not need them for long. The house was another new beginning, a single-story craftsman near Green Lake that we had purchased with part of my inheritance. It represented our future together, designed to accommodate my current limitations while allowing for the progressive recovery we both believed in. The dress fitting is next week, I reminded him. My wedding dress had been specially designed to work with either my wheelchair or the walker I was graduating to. No peeking. Wouldn't dream of it, he promised, leaning over to kiss me softly. Though I already know you'll be the most beautiful bride in history. That night, after Ryan left and the rehabilitation center quieted for the evening, I sat by the window of my room, looking out at the Seattle skyline glittering in the distance. My body was still weak, my speech still impaired, but my mind was clear and focused on the future. From the depths of tragedy had come unexpected gifts, a deeper appreciation for life's fragility and beauty, the knowledge of how fiercely I was loved, the chance to help others facing similar challenges. I would never be the same person I was before the accident, physically or emotionally, but perhaps this new version of Amber Hayes would be stronger in the broken places, more compassionate because of the suffering endured. Tomorrow would bring more physical therapy, more speech exercises, more small victories and inevitable frustrations. The path to recovery stretched long before me, with no guarantees of how far I might progress. But I was alive. I was loved. I was moving forward. And for the first time since hearing those chilling words, "Finish her, she's already weak," I felt truly, completely free. If my story has touched you in any way, please consider subscribing to hear more survival stories like mine. Have you ever had someone close to you betray your trust? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your words might help someone else feeling alone in their struggle. Don't forget to like and share this video if you found it meaningful. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, even in your darkest moments, never stop fighting for your life. You're stronger than you know.